Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for this, our reactions to the actual qualifying, the normal qualifying for the race tomorrow evening for the Miami Grand Prix. Before we get into it, like and subscribe, you know all that stuff by now. But yeah, not as exciting as yesterday's qualifying, I think. Also not as exciting as the sprint race we had earlier today. All the coverage of that is already on the channel if you want to go check that out. But let's get into it. In Q1, we had quite a big queue to start the session. Lots of guys wanting to get that out there as soon as they possibly can. And from the start, it does seem like McLaren were there or thereabouts up there with the likes of the Red Bulls and the Ferrari on one lap pace. There was a shout for Yuki Tsunoda impeding Logan Sargent. Looking at the onboard, I would tend to agree with this one. I didn't see it actually get noted or anything by the stewards, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but it did seem like Yuki was basically parked on the racing line going into the corner at the end of the straight in the third sector. But then when it comes to the end of the session, we have Zhou once again finding himself in 20th place, which he seems to do quite a lot recently. I'm gonna do a quick Google here, everyone. Google as we go by to see how many times this season Zhou has qualified last. He was last for Saudi Arabia, and he was last for Japan, and now he's last for Miami. So he is last every other race so far this season in qualifying is Zhou Guanyu. In 19th, it was Kevin Magnussen. 18th, Daniel Ricciardo. What a difference a day can make for Daniel Ricciardo from qualifying 4th to qualifying 18th. I'm not sure if this was a massive setup change or what here for Ricciardo, but yeah, something very different. And something very interesting about the whole Racing Bills team of Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda is it seems like only one of them can do well at a time. It's either Ricciardo does well or Yuki does well, and that is in basically every single session. It's just, I can't remember a time this year that you come away from a session going, they both did well there. It's just one or the other. So they need to sort that out as soon as they can, because, Ricciardo has proven this weekend already that, he still has got it. He's still doing quite well. Then he comes along and does this. So quite the uphill battle for Ricciardo tomorrow, but hopefully he can get on top of that. Sargent was 17th. Valtteri Bottas in 16th. And it was very close for Fernando Alonso. Alonso in 15th, so just missing out on the drop zone by 0.010 from Bottas. So really not good from Fernando Alonso in this qualifying session at all. Bottas very close to escaping Q1. Into Q2, and McLaren are trying again with these whole medium tyres. Now, we saw in SQ2 and SQ1 yesterday that McLaren seemed to have quite a bit of pace on the mediums that the rest of the field didn't seem to have. But then it didn't necessarily transfer to the softs. So I think they just tried it again here, and it didn't necessarily work, because Lando went out on his first lap on the softs, then swapped over to the mediums. I don't think he improved from there. The guys who are out, though, Fernando Alonso in 15th, so yeah, not great for him, beaten by Lance Stroll in both qualifying for the sprint and the main race this weekend. Obviously, we didn't get to see their kind of comparable race pace in the sprint because they were both in that incident at the start, but so far, Stroll has had the number of Alonso this weekend, which is a very rare thing to say. Alexander Albon in 14th, Ocon in 13th, Gasly in 12th. Both Gasly drivers have the lighter chassis now, so hopefully we'll be able to see Gasly back on the same playing field as Ocon. But it's got to be said that Alpine have definitely improved from the start of the year, where they were dead last, quite a bit off the pace. Now, not too far off of going into Q3. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing them in Q3 within the next 2 to 3 races. So, yeah, big improvements coming from the Alpine pack. It's not necessarily being spoken about so much yet. Stroll was in 11th, though, just missing out on that top 10. But then again, beating Alonso. So I think he can be quite happy with that qualifying performance so far, and hopefully he can turn it into something decent in the race. In Q3, Lando goes out for his first lap on the medium tyres again. This was the first lap times of everyone in Q3. Yuki Tsunoda was in 10th. Not sure what happened to Yuki on that lap, but he was 4.4 seconds off the pace. So I don't know if it was maybe trying to break his tyres in or something went wrong, but yeah, not a really competitive lap by any margin for Yuki Tsunoda in 10th. Nico Hülkenberg was in 9th, but was complaining of being impeded by Sainz. This was investigated, and no further investigation was needed. Hamilton was 8th, Russell 7th, Norris on the mediums was 6th, Perez was 5th, Piastri on the softs was 4th. It was Sainz in 3rd, Leclerc 2nd, and then Verstappen in 1st place. Now, for the final laps, Norris reverted back to the softs, but the Mercedes of Hamilton and Russell went across to the mediums. Whatever happened here, I don't know if this was kind of some kind of reverse track evolution. Maybe the track got too hot, but no one really improved their time on the second lap. I think it was only Hamilton, Hülkenberg, and Yuki Tsunoda who actually improved their time. So Yuki Tsunoda was still 10th, but improved because he wasn't 4.4 seconds off the pace. Hülkenberg was still 9th. Hamilton was still 8th, but on a faster time than the time he set on the softs, faster on the mediums. Russell, though, in 7th. Piastri was 6th. Norris went up to 5th, so Norris improved as well. But I just do feel like, he improved on the softs when the track was slower. So if he had gone on a fast lap time on the softs on the first half of that Q3 session, who knows where he could have been, because when everyone else was going slow, he was going fast. So I feel like McLaren kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit here with this medium experiment. If they'd stuck with the softs at the start of this qualifying session, who knows where Lando could have gone from there. But yeah, that McLaren is an interesting one at the minute. With all these upgrades that are on it, half the upgrades are on Piastri's car, the whole upgrades are on Norris's car. There is definitely pace there. We saw that through it's the sprint qualifying in general. Very much like the Aston, we didn't get to see the pace in sprints because of that first lap incident, but it does seem like in SQ3 and Q3 here as well, that when it comes down to, right, now put your fastest lap time on, either Lando makes a mistake or the team have put him on the wrong tyres or whatever it is. So there is pace within that McLaren, it's just we're yet to see it. And I think hopefully we should see that tomorrow if we can avoid another lap 1 instance. Not that it was his fault at all today, but if we can avoid that and go into that race, hopefully we'll be able to see the pace there of the McLaren and see if it is truly up there with the likes of the Ferraris, and even if it could go on to challenge the Red Bulls. That'll be an interesting one for tomorrow. Perez is in 4th, and then the top 3 I don't think improved at all on their lap time, so it's still Sainz in 3rd, Leclerc 2nd, Max Verstappen taking his 7th pole position in a row, his 6th in the row from the start of the season, which is now one off of Alain Prost's record for most pole positions in a row from the start of the season. What is the record for most poles in a row just in general? Consecutive poles is 8. Ayrton Senna currently holds that record from the Spanish Grand Prix of 1988 to the USA Grand Prix of 1989. So Max Verstappen currently on 7. So Max Verstappen, if he was able to get pole in Imola, would be equaling Ayrton Senna's record from 1989. So once again, Max Verstappen brushing with history here on this fantastic run he's on with the Red Bull team. So there you go. That is the grid for tomorrow. I must say it's not as intriguing, I feel, as the grid we had for the sprint, because I had quite a few guys out of place there. But yeah, interesting yet again, I feel. The big question marks for me are around Lando Norris's McLaren, more than Piastri, just because it has all the upgrades on it. How quick is that car? Can he challenge everyone else? I mean, his first thing will be trying to get past Perez as fast as he can at the start of the race. Then can he go on to challenge those Ferraris? And at that point, will Max Verstappen be too far away, or would he even have the pace to reach him? Norris is the one to watch, I feel, tomorrow. And also there's all the tyres and graining and track evolution, and all that will play a big part into tomorrow's race. And also, will anyone die of a heart attack when they see that to buy nachos it's $180, which is a madness. So we'll be here to talk about all that and more tomorrow. Also, coverage of F1 Academy will be back tomorrow. We'll be discussing both the sprint and feature race for F1 Academy. That is tomorrow. I haven't actually watched the sprint yet, so I'll have to watch that tomorrow morning because I was busy when it was on. But I'll get around to that, and we'll be covering all of that immediately after the F1 Academy race tomorrow. And then immediately after the race, we'll be back up here to discuss everything that happened. So make sure you subscribe for that. Until then, though, have a good one. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.